Welcome back to another video in the Entity Framework series, and here this is where we left in the last video. We created the DB context, we have done the scaffolding related stuff, we have the related models. Keep in mind I have only one table, that's why I have only one course. If you have a 10 different table, each table have some kind of relationship establishment and everything, all those things will be automatically taken care. If you are doing any database related change, let's say example, I have a course. In this course table contain 2 column. If suppose in near future if I wanted to add another 3 or 4 columns, I'll be doing that change respectively in the database. But that happened only in the database. How come Entity Framework knows it? Whatever the command that I executed, you just have to do that. Then only your Entity Framework get updated with the database changes. So always keep that in mind. This is DB first approach. So we are done with this, right? We have to register it. If suppose you don't register it, then this .NET doesn't know about it. How will I able to do so? As usual, go to program.cs file. You can take any place. This is we done in the last. Now let me go ahead and register the database context that we have. This is our service. Under this, I can add any database context. So let me have the database context of. You have to provide the database context class. So what type it is? So we have a tutorial context. Now we have registered it. So what we can do further is, your application is completely set. Now let's try executing some code so that I have the ability to read from the database or not. That can be verified. So first let me get into the SQL server. This is the table I have, and this table by default contains 3 different records. So let's see if the Entity Framework could able to retrieve this data or not. What I do is, I don't need any such things. Directly can get into the controller section, index controller. Here only they have the details, right? Let me remove. We don't need any such kind of the things. Let me create one private read only variable. This read only variable going to act as a variable for the database context we have. Where is the database context? The tutorial context is nothing but the database context, and I can just say tutorial context. Yeah. Since this is read only, you just have to initialize this variable within the constructor. So let me create a constructor. This constructor should accept a parameter that is of type this. Now underscore tutorial context equal to whatever the tutorial context object you are getting. We are not going to create any object for this controller. So the object is created and maintained in the dependency injection container. So through the dependency injection technique, we will be able to get that object in this controller. We'll pass the object to this controller. That is why we are registering the DB context in the builder service. Okay. Hope this is clear now. Now I can use this tutorial context dot. You will be able to have access to the courses. Since I have the table name as courses, I can able to access it. If you have any other table name, that can even be accessed with this dot. I wanted to grab all the content. Whatever that is available, I just wanted to grab all the content from this course table. So I can just say to list return. That's it. Okay. This is how it's supposed to be, and here you can see that I have a string and all. I just going to return it. Instead, I can have the action result. Likewise, I can able to change it. Keep that in mind. Let me modify this to OK, because that's the return type. I'm returning some data with the status code 200. That's nothing but OK. Now we are done with the coding related part, and there might be a chance. So now let me open the old code that we have discussed. So what this code? This are all the code that we have written for deleting a single record. Now the same code, whatever that I have written, right? The same code that I have written to fetch all the record from the table. But you can see, right? I haven't written anything like that. I just written a single line of code. This looks like a lambda expression, but it works. That's what the Entity Framework does. Now let's test this by executing this. So here you can see that we got this Swagger UI up. I'm going to send one request for this endpoint because this is the endpoint that we have modified it. Let me click on this execute and see how it actually behaves. So here you can see I got the result. So ID1 JavaScript, ID2 C# and ID3 Python. If I go ahead to the database, I can able to verify the same ID 1 2 3 course JavaScript C# and then the Python. So this clearly demonstrated that this code or entity whatever that we have written that works as expected. Now what we can do is, let me do one more small change here. I can even comment it out. This is get by ID, right? So I can have ID, that's nothing but integer and then ID. So I'll be using that ID here, ID. So I can return a specific record. Let me change this string to I action result. So now what I can do is, I can have the OK, as we all know that, and within this OK bracket, I'll be using my context object dot course dot I will be having access to all the find async, first or default, anything that I can go for. I just go for first or default. Your x tends to x dot id, whatever the id property you have in the table, equal to whatever the id that I get as an input. In that case, I'll be passing that data in the response. So this is how I'm going to access only one record from the database. Let me press F5 from the keyboard and will verify this as well. So here you can see again the Swagger UI is up. I can able to verify it. So let me get into this get endpoint. First, let's see what are all the details available. We know we have only 3 details, but that's fine. Let's verify it. So these are all the details. Now I'm going to pass the ID as 3 in this endpoint. So let me pass 3 and then hit on execute. It's supposed to send me that one specific object which is ID3 and then the Python. So we know that it is works as expected. In the next video, we will come to know how I can add a specific new record, how I can update a specific record, how to delete a record. So that we will be discussing in the next video. Till then, bye. Take care.